Just give me a heads up.
Thanks.
Okay, all right, we'll get started with the meeting of administration and legal affairs committee, Wednesday, July 9th, 2025 at 5 p.m. 2.0 prayer. Everybody, I'll take it.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for another opportunity to gather together to handle the county's business. Lord, we just pray that we do it with wisdom and your guidance. And we just pray that you have your way from beginning to end. In Jesus' name.
Thank you. All right, 3.0 approval of agenda. Second. In a second? Yes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. 4.0 approval of meeting minutes from June 11th, 2025 meetings. Move to approve. Second. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. And 5.0 approval of claims. I've got a total of $171,672.38. Approval. Okay, very good. And a second. Okay, I read through them and it's good there. We did have the one big Microsoft deal in there, right? So that was the bulk of that one. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. 6.0 public comments. Nobody else is here. Let's jump down to 7.1 county treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, I want to start off with my claims. I actually had almost $18,000 this month. But most of that was for postage for our property tax bills. Over 12,000 of that was postage alone. About 5,500 was the processing and printing process itself. So my regular real claims were really only about $80. So that's why I kind of bring that up because postage we keep seeing increases, and as we head into budget time, I think we're going to really need to have that budget quite a bit just to be able to continue. So that's where I was with claims. Financial report, I sent the link. Hopefully it's working for everybody. I know,
Yes.
Okay, that you can access it.
We did.
Holy camoli.
It's 502, girl.
Yeah, we're efficient, right?
Yeah.
So, yes. I just want to point out, this is a page I've been paying attention to a lot lately, and sales and income tax receipts actually were right where I would expect them to be for this time of year, and they're actually about 25,000 above this time last year. So I think, and then overall cumulatively over the first 6 months this year compared to first 6 months last year, about 95,000 above where we were. Despite that last number of the local use tax being so small. So luckily it's all kind of worked out, smoothed out a little bit. So as of June 30th, total county funds were down 6.48% compared to May 31st, which is $1.72 million. Still well within the realm of normal. Tax receipts obviously are going to impact that bottom line, which you'll see in the July. There were 10 investments that matured in June, as you can see on page 3, almost $37,000 in interest for 6 funds. We have 17 current active investments across 10 funds. Month-end value of invested funds was just over $9 million. I'm initiating several more this week because rates are actually doing pretty well. I just got some CDs at 4.25 for 6 months, so pretty happy about that. Getting a few more things taken care of tomorrow. Unless anybody has any questions about this, I kind of figure if I don't hear from you after I send it, that there generally aren't any issues that you're concerned about. Again, I always think the back page is the most important. This one that kind of shows you where the money really is and where it should be coming from and going to. And to highlight yet again, to beat the dead horse, 68.61% of this pool of money, which obviously has already changed since we've passed the month end, is really not money that we can do anything with. It's restricted in one way or another, which is a big chunk of things. All right, let's talk about tax collection. So the first property due date came and went. The first distribution is going to hit all the taxing districts on Friday. It's the amount of funds distributed, $42,992,906, which is almost 55% of the original amount extended, so over half. This will be the largest single distribution of the year. everything else, even that second installment will still be smaller because now I'm distributing along the way. I have to every 30 days. So this was the big one. The county as a taxing district itself, and you can see some of this information. I'm starting to talk about what we've got here, what I've sent out. First side is county, you flip it over is mill race. So the county as its own taxing district, 54.91% of original incentive taxes will be hitting the funds on Friday. Mill race, we're just talking about this, is at 69.65% collected. And there's a variance between all the taxing districts based on who pays their taxes. City of Freeport, anything that touches the city of Freeport, those tend to be a little lower out in the county. Those districts, those people tend to pay more or pay both installments at once. So their collection rates early on are a little higher than anything that would touch the city. So the settlement sheets, if you're interested in any of the other 104, they're all on the website too. I think I shared a link to that when I said that. It's
Kind of works.
good. That's always good news. Good news. So next distribution will be August 11th. And at that same time, I'll be working on this year's mobile home tax bills. Those will be due on Halloween. And I will be out of the office several days this month yet, 2 conferences to attend. So if anybody doesn't have any other questions, that's my report.
Very good. Just one comment.
Yes, sir.
I was kind of looking at the report that Adrian sent out the other day. In looking at the budgets, because we're like halfway through the year, and I didn't check yours because you never spent any money, but I checked the other ones and it looks like everybody's in pretty good shape here, so.
I haven't seen any red flags.
No.
Yet at all.
So. Yeah, just kind of want to make sure it's like, well, maybe we'll come up under on some things, but there's probably bills coming in, so.
Yeah, there are, I will say that even in my small budget, for example, after I hold the tax sale, that's the biggest chunk of my treasure automation budget is December.
Okay,
And I believe in public safety budget, I think there are some bills that typically hit,
near the end of the year.
or even we pay them, they don't even come until December, and then we end up paying in January out of this budget, so.
Yeah.
You could kind of use it as a guide to 50%, but
Yeah,
just with kind of that caveat that not necessarily a bad way, so.
I just kind of checked it.
Yeah.
So,
I think we're
Very
in
good.
great shape.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions? Okay, that's it. All right, 7.2 county clerk.
Thank you, Chairman. On the reporting side, it's getting busier compared to May. We reported 609 documents. One of those documents contained 179 parcels. So that took a lot of work on our end. One on the clerk side, with redemptions, working with the local tile company, and then indexing that entire document takes over 600 entries. So a little bit busy on the reporting side. And then last month I talked about the mail issue that I was hoping to resolve at the division level. Good news is the purge had happened and we didn't receive any of the cards back that said no such number, no such street. So that's nice to know that was resolved. We did receive many back undeliverables. So our team is making calls, and then if we're able to reach them, we can correct it before sending out the R26, which is forwardable. You're just hoping if we can fix it before having to pay for more postage.
How many of those were there?
28,000 went out. I don't have the total amount of,
That came back.
yeah, they're still coming back
Okay.
a little bit, trickling each day.
Just curious. Thank you.
Just recently, the State Board of Elections released the campaign candidates guide and the calendar that's available on their website. It's also available on ours. So August 5th, petitions will start circulating. Yesterday, I got news from the state that the IVRS grant will be available again, and our county is going to get $41,925. That's important. That pays for a fixed cost of our voter registration system. So looking forward to that. And then the ADA accessible grant, that's also going to be available again. They said there's going to be lower funds available this year, so I will submit some requests to see what we can get here.
Great.
Any questions?
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
7.3 supervisor assessments. She was not going to be here. She did send out a little email there. Probably the main thing she sent out was that list kind of showing sales of properties and why the taxes are going up, and it was pretty interesting. I mean, houses have doubled, some houses have doubled and things like that within a few years, and so that just makes everybody's taxes go up. So yeah, kind of interesting on that one. Let's see what else I got here on that. Okay, that's. Okay, we'll get that on right now. All right, we'll move on to 7.4, county administrator.
Thank you. Contract I'm working on currently is with the EMA director. He and I met briefly this morning, scheduled an appointment for Monday, so I'll have that upcoming through his committee. Mr. Bell and I completed the property inspections and walkthroughs with the 3 sheriff's buildings. Those reports came through this afternoon, so all departments have gotten their recommendation reports through from liability. Mr. Remmers was also in the office today, just kind of giving me an update on things that he has been working with. He loves the new mower. He said it really is suited for everything that we need out there. It kind of has an air suspension, so he was appreciative of that, but he gave me an update, said that he's been kind of speaking with Beth on the regular about what projects he's planning and things like that. I don't know if any of you recall, there was a memorial bench that was approved last year that Wally was the cement pad will be laid hopefully early next week, and then that'll be installed. So just kind of an update on that. Main thing at the department head meeting this morning, kind of an update on the copiers and reminding everyone to get their information to me for the approval of them being declared surplus property and the RFQ that will be before finance next week to get bids on the copiers that we got from Board of Flush contract to dispose of. Budget worksheets were emailed out. We had a brief conversation about that this morning. Last Greater Freeport Partnership meeting was on June 25th. They do not hold a July meeting, so we will not meet again until the end of August. Chairman Helms and I have continued the monthly meetings with Greater Freeport Partnership, usually the Friday preceding our planning and development, so that we're aware of everything's updated on our end. I attended the Region 1 Land Bank meeting on June 24th. There is new Lake County has been added into that land bank. They talked a lot about grant funding that they're getting for housing that's usually it has to do with developers, not municipalities or counties. One thing in our budget that has not come out yet for this year is the paper order for all of the paper for the county that usually takes place August, September. So that's a big year. That and just a lot of regular meetings that are. That's all I have.
Questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Did the report that was due July 2nd, was that completed on July 2nd?
July 9th was the date.
Oh, I know, but I thought it was like, okay,
If that about the cost report for the nursing
Yes.
home, we can talk about that at the end of the meeting, if that's okay.
that's fine.
Got something else I want to talk about related to that.
Okay.
All right. Let's move on to 7.5, IT manager.
Just gonna share a few things. After last month's meeting, I went ahead and implemented 2 new policies for the county. A more stringent password policy, so we didn't have like very easy passwords to get into machines. And we also implemented a Friday shutdown for the weekend and any holidays. As that's when cyber attacks generally happen, is when nobody's around. So everybody has been pretty receptive to that. Those that are staying usually let me know that they're gonna be here, that their machines will be on, which is fine. We're just trying to limit the exposure of the possibility of an attack. And if they happen to get through a piece of equipment, if there's no machines on, they can't really go any further. So That went over well. We did the county board training on the voting system. Hopefully you guys are getting used to that. Kind of tweaking it as we go, just to make sure it's more user friendly and, trying to adjust some of those screens. The other thing is we've taken a page out of the city's book. We have a new stop clock type deal that we're putting up, in the boardroom that will show people during public comment how much time they have left. There was a,
Please don't ever start the comment with we're.
Oh,
so anyway, all it is a time clock, stop clock that we'll put up. And I will get with the chairman to see where he wants that, but that should be up by next meeting as well.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, no problem. So that's all I really have. Do you have any questions? Oh, I do have one more thing. Adam Pudwell is no longer with Three Rock. He's been gone for about 2 weeks. He took a different career, well, same career, different place. So it is just John and myself right now. So we're feeling it being down a guy, and I have to be more mindful of my days off because now I have to make sure John's here. That way the county has some coverage when I'm off. And they did make a hire. I think I'm fine with sharing this. I've heard it out, public knowledge. Brad Curtis, who is retiring from the sheriff's department, will be moving over to Three Rock after his retirement. So Brad has some IT background. There'll be some more stuff that'll have to be taught there, but he's got a good base to start with. So I don't know effectively when he comes on. I think we're at least a few more weeks out from that. So it's just kind of John and myself for the next month for the most part. So hopefully we've been staying on top of the queue pretty good. Some days are getting the better of us, but for the most part, things are in alignment. So that's all I really have.
So how's the copiers go? That settled down now?
From department head today, I would say that there's more issues with the new ones than we had with the old ones. But I think I think people were aware of that going into it. So we've had more service here by them than we have with Gordon Flesh in the past, but it is what it is.
Is that machine issues or connectivity issues?
I will say, I feel like the machines that we've gotten are cheaper than what we had quality wise. You can tell there are a lot of plastic and a lot of moving parts, so I don't think they handle what we used to handle, so they do get jammed up a little bit, but again, that was all shared up front, and I think we were aware of what that process was going to be. I don't know how many departments have been affected by it, but a few of them made comments today that they've had some issues. So,
Thank you. I was just kind of curious where we're at on that, so. All right, any other questions? Okay, 7.6 report from strategic planning. Director Grummer.
We haven't met, but as I said at the full board meeting last month, like seeing the grant modifications, the budget policy coming through. I think those small little changes, I'm eager to see how those are implemented.
Yeah, okay, great. Ready, there is no old business. How about 9.1, approval of revised county code chapter 218, dangerous goods. So.
you can start.
I can say, all right, so, it's been a while. We've been working on this. Beth has put a lot of work into it, and we actually had, who'd you have?
Eric Ornament with
Eric
your
Ornament. It's a long group, right? And so they rewrote this section 218. And then put some more definitions in there. I think it's got a good plan or process to follow to kind of look into these properties that are being neglected or maybe causing harm to their neighbor or some other type of thing. So I think it's a very good update. So I think that's very, very much needed in the unincorporated areas of the county here. So
I agree.
anything else?
It's just a long time in the making. It's been over a year and a half. We've had several buildings that have needed inspections. Compliance wasn't happening with the department that was supposed to be handling these inspections. So buildings weren't being inspected that have been asked by the DCFS. They weren't getting inspected because they didn't feel they had the authority. So this at least will give the zoning department authority. We may not be the proper building or office to do that, but with the building background and everything now, Nicole and I should be able to handle all of this. We also had an RFP approved Monday night at Planning and Development. That is for an as-needed building inspector, because there are things Nicole and I can't say. Yes, we can look at a building and say, that should not be livable, but we need a more qualified person at a certain time. So we'll see what we get from those with the RFP and how many we get, and we can either choose, have 3 on call at all times, or just pick one and then go from there. So hopefully this gets some of the unsafe hoses in the area taken care of.
It's just a handful.
Yeah, it's not a lot. It's just something that needs to be out there and needs to be, handled when it comes up.
So how much of this is directed at non-resident buildings?
That's a good question. More or less, we get complaints of houses, unsanitary conditions for the kids in there, and that's when DCFS will call in and say, hey, we need an inspection. Or, for one, there's a house in Scioto Mills that I had taken to court 2 years ago, I think, and was dropped because the health department wouldn't do an inspection for me.
Sorry about that.
And then, so it's more or less houses. People don't turn in, I'm assuming you're thinking of like egg buildings and such, barns, and we don't typically get anything like that. Cause I know there's a lot of them out there, but more or less a residential home that someone lives in, or in a community like Scioto Mills that has houses next door and things like that. And theirs is more than just a house. They've got wood panels out there for construction that he said he was gonna build with 3 years ago and hasn't. And so it's more or less towards the homes, things like that.
Questions?
Just to confirm, I thought I read it, but this is specifically for when you've been contacted. This is
Yes.
something.
No, we're not gonna go, no, we don't have enough time to go out and search for these things. We already have plenty of complaints.
I thought I read that. I just wanted to
Yep,
confirm.
yeah.
I think there was a list that the other department, there was a handful on there, I think.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be for dangerous buildings. Those were just more nuisance ones
Right. Yeah.
that some of the ones on that list I've been handling anyways, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I can, so I had asked Beth to take this on. If you remember, when I became chairman, one of the goals I had was to try to clean up, quote unquote, clean up unincorporated Stephenson County. The health department is ultimately, by statute, required to do this. It's been incredibly difficult to move that process along with the health department. So I asked Beth, because she's already kind of neck deep in this, if she'd be willing to take this on. She agreed to do so. Some path of least resistance, trust Beth, I trust that she'll get it done. This is probably may not be the right way to go, but it's the way that I'd like to go.
Sure. I think it's a good solution. I think it's a very good policy here and update, but it kind of lays everything out very well. I didn't see any gaps there.
Man,
Yeah.
also, I've been contacted, I don't know if there's a new thing going around with the townships, but we've been contacted by Harlem Township, which is, the Scioto Mills area. That's the one where we've gotten a lot of complaints through Harlem Township themselves. And then I actually was contacted by Andy Lobdell with Erin Township. So we received 5 or 6 complaints from that township themselves as well. So I don't know if townships are finally saying, we need to clean ourselves up or
They're
what.
probably
which-
calling the health department, and I'm sure they've just said, well, you.
Well, we're getting it.
So. All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
So will a conversation be had with the health department regarding this?
Already,
Yep. We've already done
I sit on the housing authority. Well, 30 years ago, housing, so why do I keep saying housing? Health department board. And yes, I've been in conversations with this
Okay.
for probably a year.
Yeah. Yeah, it was in their court for a while. They had a couple meetings, they were trying to refine it to where they could work with it. It really didn't go anywhere, so it came back and we just changed the wording to go through its own budget, so.
It's more work for my office, but,
Right.
you know, we have 2 people, they had 3, things didn't get done. But Nicole and I have got a good team, and her.
And we could, with that RFP, can also get,
Right.
support if we need it.
Yes.
And then there is some restitution back in here too as well, so.
Yep.
So we're gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve this. If there's any change, the state's attorney needs to review this. I don't know if he initially looked at it yet.
I have no
So
idea.
if there's any changes to
But
it,
It's been sent to him. I was in
Been sent to him.
contact with him a week ago, told him I needed it by tonight.
as
I'm
well.
asking again tonight when I see him at court services.
So if there's any minor changes, we'll address that before the meeting next Thursday, but I think it's very solid since it was written by a group, so. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve this.
I have a second.
Okay. Further conversation. All right, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign?
I'll say aye.
Okay. You're okay with that?
Opposed or?
You said aye or?
No, I'm voting no.
You're voting no, okay,
Yes.
that's fine.
Can I ask Steve what your reservations
My
are?
reservations are, I understand wanting to clean up our county and have our county look good, but I'm concerned about who makes the judgment. And I'm concerned about how it gets done. Especially out in the rural areas, because we had this whole issue come to the board a while back. And some of those issues were perspective issues. And I'm concerned about that. And I'll just pick myself, what I might think is an okay building on my property. He might think is, a trashy. So that's why at this point, I looked at this a little bit. I haven't had a chance to really dive into it. But I'm concerned about that particular issue on properties outside of in unincorporated areas and what those buildings, if it was just gonna be a house and that sort of thing, wouldn't have my reservations, but I look at a lot of other things and I look at ways here that we're allowing some things that could happen to maybe interfere with a person's business and that sort of thing going on.
Sure.
And so that's why I'm voting no.
Okay.
And I understand I'm only one.
Well, and if I may, the spirit of this is based on the house beside Old Mill, so it's an empty house. Someone from Freeport bought it with the only intention of putting construction debris on the property. Not gonna live there, the house is uninhabitable. And the neighbors have been complaining, we've been by it, it's a hazard because the animals are going in and out of the house. I mean, it's a junkyard.
You can go to Curry Road.
That's on my list this week too.
But it-
Yes,
Yeah,
Those
there's,
kind of things, I understand that.
there's a house in Red Oak, very similar, that's housing junk cars
Mhm.
all over the property, and we can't touch them.
They're not behind the fence at least,
Yeah,
and on the road on trailers, but
it's right next to a church.
yeah.
Everybody in Red Oak is complaining about this guy, and there's nothing we can do about it. And they are literally junk cars, crushed cars. And they're sitting on trailers that are licensed out in the street.
May I, Chairman?
Sure.
You made the comment of businesses. If they're businesses, they have to keep up as a standard in our code, so it wouldn't be more like businesses. This is more for the homes that are dilapidated, that do have children living in them or elderly or anyone living in them that don't have running water. We have people living in a house in McConnell that didn't have running water, didn't have heat or electric. So it's more for that. more for houses that are standing vacant next to another dwelling. I can tell you in the 10 years I've been here, not saying it's not gonna happen, I haven't got one about so-and-so's barn looks like it's about to fall over. I can't guarantee it, but with something like that, it's not a hazard to the public.
Right.
You know, it has to be more of a hazard to the public, you know. Yes, of course, all farms have rats, not all, I should say, but rodents. Rodents are in here, but those are more for the dwellings and things like that, in a more, not the, what am I trying to say? Not the, right, yeah, so I understand your concern. We're not gonna go after somebody's barn or their corn crib or something like that because it's got some wood missing.
It's kind of like that solar conversation, man, you know, people should be able to do what they
All right.
wanna do on their property, but you can't also cause harm to your next door neighbor and those kind of things either, so or you can't just put anything you want on your own property. There is,
As long as it doesn't hurt anybody, you can't.
well, you can't put a bar on it without. Well, so I'm just saying, there's rules that you have to follow even with your own property. And I just think this is the thing, so and talk about it more on Thursday, but, you know, any other conversation? Okay. Alrighty, 10.0 comments from committee members. Yes, Chairman.
If nobody has any comments, can I discuss the nursing with you? Only because I don't want to have another special meeting. So if you can take one, pass them down, please. Received this email today from CMS. Hope everybody remembers who CMS is. They deal with Medicare and Medicaid. So I'm just gonna read it real quick. It says, "Hi, Mr. Perez, we spoke on 6/24 and I had said that the state was repeatedly reaching out to you for plans of correction so they could conduct a revisit. However, the state is still waiting to receive evidence from you for the Life Safety Code survey. As I mentioned over the phone, we are required by law to terminate the Medicare and Medicaid provider agreements with the Stephenson Nursing Center on August 4th, 2025, if the state is not able to verify compliance prior to that date. Please send the outstanding information by close of business today, July 9th. I will try following up with another call. Please do not hesitate to contact me or the state of questions." If you flip that page over, that's Mr. Perez's response. I do not want to talk about personnel issues in open session. I'm just filling you in. So what this means is, and it's pretty self-explanatory, if what he sent them today is not accepted and they don't have what they want by August 4th, the Medicare and Medicaid patients that reside at the nursing home, we as a board will need to decide if we're going to let them stay for free or if they need to be transferred to another home. Just so you know, one of the residents out there are Medicare or Medicaid. So over 40 residents. Very similar to what occurred, well, not similar. We lost the VA contract for non-compliance with the star rating. This is basically the same thing. So just filling you in on what's going on as far as the cost report is concerned. I believe everything has been completed, sent to Whitley. Whitley has overnighted all the information to CMS. But that being said, today was the deadline for them to accept what was sent and approved, basically. So not just needs to be there by today. I highly expect tomorrow or the next day getting some documentation from CMS demanding repayment of what they consider to be overpayment of $450 some thousand at 11.675% interest. And of course, they have suspended Medicare and Medicaid payments since June 9th. So just keep in mind, as I said at the special meeting that we had, there'll be no Medicare and Medicaid payments for at least 30 days. We'll miss those. We'll eventually get them back once the cost report is approved, but that could be August, September. In the meantime, we have bills to pay with no revenue to pay them. We have payroll to pay, which is a week from this coming Friday, which I think we need to have deposits by Wednesday. So I'm telling you all this because there's a very real possibility there may not be revenue to make payroll. I am not trying to, panic or have anyone panic. It's just the reality of the situation. As far as the license is concerned, it has still not been renewed. I did get an extension from IDPH through August 31st. So we are technically in compliance until, well, I would say August 29th, because the 31st is Sunday. So we have to have a licensed administrator to reapply for the license, okay? I don't know that we're going to have that, so,
Somebody have a question?
if it's gonna be personnel related, then we have to go into executive session, which we can do.
Don't think it's personal.
Okay.
I'm just asking about, well, I did, the license. I thought was going to be done already. I thought that it's to be done. Not supposed to be. Okay, that's what okay. Because you got into the portal.
I actually have access as the registered agent to the portal, and I could do the license, but I have to have a copy of the administrator's license in order to do it. So, it's all the good news I've got. I just want to share this with everybody. I'm going to do this with every committee going forward. So tonight, court services, tomorrow night, nursing, public works. I believe I'll have covered everybody at that point. But everybody needs to be aware of what's going on. Luckily, August 4th is a little less than a month away, so hopefully there's enough time that we don't lose the agreements with Medicare and Medicaid. Again, they can stay, but we won't get paid for them. There'll be no reimbursement, no billing for them, nothing. They will get a free.
But if. I have a question, so if we can't make payroll. And our staff. Decides to get employment elsewhere. We're still gonna have to move people.
Worst case, yeah, absolutely. If I don't have employees to take care of the residents,
Right.
just the same way, if food service were to pull out, they're all on dietary restrictions. We have previous administrators said, if that ever happened, go to McDonald's. That will never happen. Pretty sure I can't, if you have dietary restrictions, not gonna buy a cheeseburger. Yeah, there's lots of different scenarios that might
Is
cause
there,
that to happen.
is there a scenario that everything's gonna work out great and everyone will be paid on time in 2 weeks?
That's rhetorical, right?
Well, no, I'm just saying, I mean, can a miracle happen? Maybe. But no, I mean, it's not. I mean, the way that everything is set up, there's no way we can meet payroll that's coming up in 10
I
days.
didn't say that. I'm not going to sit here and say, no way, there's.
Okay, so there is a possibility.
I don't know, but I'm not going to go down the
Okay.
road and say it's
Okay.
not going to happen.
All right,
So, anyway,
okay.
One day at a time.
well,
It's what we're here.
literally, yes.
Yeah.
There's lots of moving parts right now that unfortunately are gonna take precedent over whether or not we have funding for payroll next week. There's lots of things that are occurring that are more important right now. And we can go into executive session and talk about that, but it has nothing to do with this committee. But I'm more than happy to explain further, but it would have to go into executive session because it deals with personnel matters. Or I could talk to you one-on-one.
Yes, take the elevator.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're like, are you guys okay with not doing that? Okay. All right, I think we will move on. 11.0 adjourned.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Awesome. Okay, second, Mr. Frick. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
Do you
everybody.
want these back?
No,